I will now hand over the presentation to Mr. DeJarvis Leonard. Mr. Leonard.
Thank you for joining us as a part of our June media briefing. We will walk through the project in length, and then we will go through some detail of what has taken place in the last month. This is where we are, phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. A1, 2, and 3, Phase A was the lengthening of the replacement of the bridges at 31st Street and 12th Avenue. Phase 1 was the widening of bridges on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Avenue North and I-65. And Phase 2 was the reconstruction of the interchange at I-59 and I-65. We're actively involved in Phase 3, and Phase 3 concludes the segmental construction as well as some conventional bridges at the interchange at our Redbound Expressway. This is our segmental construction. The contractor has been actively installing segments, completing spans, and we will show you some of the details of what is taking place. This is a heading 8, shows some of the segmental construction with the shoring towers in place, and they're placing segments to complete the span. As mentioned, we have about 8 segments ongoing. They're installing about 400 segments a month is what the progress that they're currently been making. In the last 2 weeks, they've installed over 200 segments. Heading 1 is near 19th Street, which is west of 19th Street. Heading 2 is just east of 19th, west of 19th, and you can see the work going on both lanes. This is another view of heading 1, 2, and heading 3 is east of 19th, and you can see the BJCC and City Hall and the parking deck and Boutwell Auditorium. Four is the east-westbound direction of that same area and around Boutwell Auditorium and just east of there. And 5 is over near 23rd Street in those areas. And then 6 is over around 23rd. And 7th is over Caraway. Heading 8 is the work that they're accomplishing over the railroad, and then we'll tie the conventional bridges to the segmental construction. So the contractor is working in 8 different locations, and that's how he's able to complete so many segments in the short period of time he's been doing for each month. This is a cross-sectional view of what the segments look like. You have the northbound and southbound roadway, and there'll be 2 segments primarily for the main line in each direction. Where we have ramps, you may have 3 segments on each side. This is another view of showing that same cross-sectional review on the actual bridges, showing the southbound and the northbound bridges. When they finish with each segment, they will be placing a closure pour between each segment. This is another view of that cross-sectional view of the bridges and how the bridges will look once we complete. Another view of the cross-sectional view of the bridges. You can see the contractor is making much progress and utilizing this method to complete the bridge. This is a time-lapse video showing what we've done since the demolition and placing of segments. You can see the progress is taking place in the area of 19th Street on both east and west of 19th Street, it showed not only the segments that have been installed, but also showed you all the columns that were precast and installed during that period of time also. This is another view of a time lapse of the looking east. You can see the conventional bridges taking place, and we'll show a close-up of that. You can also see the segmental construction that has taken place in this area since the beginning of the project. You can see Carraway around 23rd and in the area around 19th. This is a view of Red Mountain Expressway and the work that has taken place there with the new conventional bridges, showing the bridges that are coming from 31st Street. This is the new connector from Red Mountain Expressway to southbound 59. You can also see the new connector that will be from the mainline bridges that goes over to 31st Street. This is a view looking south at Red Mountain Expressway. You can see some of the same bridges that are under construction. You can see the new 25th Street on and off ramps in this area. You can see the new bridge that goes from 31st Street to the mainline bridges. And this is the new bridge that's coming from Red Mountain Expressway over to the new mainline bridges. All that will come together in this location and tie to the mainline bridges going southbound on 5920. This is another view of looking under those bridges. You can see Carraway, the current Carraway Boulevard off-ramp, and the 31st Street on-ramp going over yet. This is another view of the 59 southbound ramp. On the ramp to 59 southbound also how it ties in to 59 southbound coming from Red Mountain Expressway. This is a time lapse of the interchange at Red Mountain Expressway and 5920. You can see we've already got 59, the bridges, the off ramps to 25th Street in place. And the on-ramp, you can see the new bridges coming from 31st Street that's taking shape, along with the ramp coming from Red Mountain Expressway to 59 southbound. And here's another view of the off-ramp to 31st Street. Once we're complete, it will tie to the mainline bridges in this area here. Countdown is still on. 28 months and 28 days. To complete the 14-month, which a contractor has to complete the project. Full incentive, 6 months and 29 days. We are very excited. Contractor is making progress, and we feel confident at this point that the 14-month deadline should be met to have traffic back on the mainline bridges of 5920 before March of 2020. We have the 4th of July holidays coming up on us. ALDOT will not have any interstate closures from midnight on Wednesday until midnight on Sunday. Most other routes will not have any closures either. The contractor, we were working with the contractor to facilitate any work that may be going in around the detours, and we will be announcing if there will be any traffic delays in around the detour on the project on the local streets. And we will announce that before that time comes. We encourage motorists to be safe in their travels. We encourage motorists to obey traffic signs. We encourage motorists to not be distracted. Do not be distracted during your driving on the roads. With that, we will turn it over to Cal.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Leonard. At this time, we want to remind everyone to please follow us on social media to stay up to date on the project. And you can see our social media handles here at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course the 5920bridge.com website. which has all current closure information. At this time, we're going to begin taking questions. If you will please type your questions in the questions box on the lower right-hand side of the screen, and we will answer them in the order they are received. Okay, we have a question. What percentage of the project is complete?
We're about 65% complete with the overall project, which the completion date is November 2020 for all the other work that's underneath the bridge. We're about 30% complete with the actual segmental construction, and the contractor is about 90% complete with the casting of all of the segments.
Okay, another question here. How many segments have been placed?
There are approximately 600 segments that have been placed thus far.
And another question, how many lanes will Red Mountain Expressway and 31st be merging onto 5920?
The new ramps northbound Red Mountain Expressway to 5920 northbound and eastbound, there will be 2 lanes. Currently, we have one because of the detours, but there will be 2 there. Also, there will be 2 lanes if you're traveling northbound to go southbound on 5920. There is not a connection from Red Mountain Expressway north to 31st Street. That was one of the movements that we lost as a part of the overall changes to the interchange. Also, the ramp from Red Mountain Expressway to 59 northbound and the ramp to 31st Street off of the main line will be separated. It will not be merging together when they're leaving the interstate.
Okay, and someone asked if the 65% completion figure is for the entire project, including all the phases. Is that correct?
The 65% is the 65% of phase 3. All other phases are complete. Phase 3, which includes the replacement of the mainline bridges and the reconstruction of the interchange at Red Mountain Expressway, includes phase 3, and all that work is about 65% complete.
Okay. And then we have another question. Have plans for the project under the bridges been updated, and when are you anticipating finalizing the design for the area under the bridge?
In about a month, we will have a conceptual drawing that shows the direction that we're headed with the design. We're working very closely with the local officials, both City of Birmingham, BJCC, and other stakeholders to identify what this conceptual drawing will be. And our goal is to present this to the public in about a month.
Okay. Okay, that completes the questions. So I'm going to pass it back to you, Mr. Leonard. Is there anything else you want to add before we conclude?
We would like to just thank you for your patience as we continue to improve the infrastructure through downtown Birmingham. We encourage you to just be mindful of the detours and plan for your trip so you can won't be delayed if there is some issues as it relates to the detours. And again, thank you for your cooperation.
Thank Thank you, Mr. Leonard. As a reminder, we will post a recording of this presentation on the 5920 website at 5920bridge.com. The website contains all the most current information on the project, and we encourage you to utilize the website as a resource for closure announcements, the media gallery for photos, and current content. If you have any questions following today's meeting, please contact Linda Crockett. If there's nothing else at this time, this will conclude today's meeting. Thanks again to everyone for joining today's media briefing.